there are some big questions coming for LA. And no, I'm not talking about the Lakers. I am talking about the Clippers, because take a look at this. LeBron, Paul George, they both have player options. James Harden will be an unrestricted free agent. The in-season trade acquisitions, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, they could become free agents as well. So that's sort of the full picture of everybody. But like I said, I do want to dive in here a little bit on the Los Angeles Clippers, because they've been the hottest team in basketball over the last 2 months. They are playing like they really could be going to the NBA Finals. How do they keep this whole group together? It's expensive.
Negotiation, Southern California, and Microsoft stock dividends is how they're going to keep it together. So the biggest thing was Kawhi getting this extension a couple of weeks ago. I can't overstate how important that the structure of that extension was. He got less than the number of max years he could get. He took a mild pay cut. He's still getting $50 a year. We're not going to worry about him. And he didn't get a player option in the deal. And that set the standard for what they're going to negotiate with Paul George and James Harden. Now, Kawhi kind of showed his cards a little bit in his press conference after signing and said, yeah, I think we're all coming back. And I think Paul was like, wait a minute, I'm going to do a little negotiation here. And so I do expect Paul George to try to negotiate. He's younger and has been healthier. And if he were to choose free agency, he would get offers. And as we sit here today, the way everything fell out, you look at a team like Philadelphia, they do a couple of trades. They still protected their $50 million in cap space. A team like that could see if Paul George, but I'm talking it gets free agency. But Southern California, this is where he's from. They're building something special here. Ultimately, I think they bring these guys back. They will try to get them below the max and below the max years and no player options, etc. Ultimately, I think we'll get there. It could be a little bit harrowing between now and then, but in the meantime, the Clippers are playing title contention basketball.
They're playing so well that we never even brought up Paul George's name as somebody that teams would call about right now. Teams call about him all the time because he can be a free agent. He has to turn down a player option to become a free agent. And when you look at the teams with cap space, Philadelphia, you mentioned them. He is a player that would fit perfectly alongside the Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey grouping there. That's a player they had interest in when they had conversations about James Harden going to the Clippers. And that's his leverage. Like they didn't even entertain any offers for Paul George, but because they're playing so well, because they can win this year. But if they get to the summer and Philadelphia can go 4 years and a max for him, Orlando has money for him, there are other teams that would be interested in Paul George, and the Clippers have 3 years and something that lines up with Kawhi's contract. He's going to have a financial decision to make. The Knicks have money for him. Like these are teams that he could get more money and more years from that will give him tremendous leverage when he gets to the offseason.
I actually love it. And I hope that Paul George don't sign the contract extension. You know why? Because all of a sudden it brings competition, good competition within the organization, because we know James Harden want the bag. PG want the bag. Now all of a sudden you earn your bag, not throughout the course of the regular season. They're going to earn their bag, especially with James Harden, with their production in the postseason. So now that benefits the Clippers. We already know that they wanted to sign to get Kawhi Leonard out the way, but everybody else right now is still auditioning, not saying that they can't.
Let's say they win this year. Let's say they go all the way to the finals. All those guys have more leverage.
They got more leverage.
If they lose, though?
But I know Paul George will still have leverage.
Normally, you would never say that a guy in Paul George's early 30s, potentially unrestricted, you would never say that he doesn't have leverage. You would say the player always has leverage in that situation, which is why we always see guys get maxes. But under the new rules, it's a little bit harder. And secondly, I think the Clippers are operating, and this is what happened with Kawhi, that they have leverage because they play here for a great organization and going into a brand new arena, and they're operating that way. And so that's why I think one of the most important things that's happened this year, Malika, you've heard me say this before, is that Kawhi Leonard is playing this well. And one of the most important transactions of the whole season so far, among all the trades and everything else, is that contract extension. The Clippers got Kawhi to sign.
Well, because winning cures a whole bunch of things. If all of a sudden the Los Angeles Clippers are the NBA champions, we fast forward to June, it's going to be incredibly difficult. That possibility has already made it, like you said, Ramona, so that folks aren't calling. They're not worrying about, oh, we could lose Paul George for nothing. He could walk away, because they are so all in right now on trying to capitalize on this window. I do want to bring our Tim Legler into the conversation here, because, Tim, as we were just talking about, we did not see, the Clippers make a huge move today, but it feels like their moves were already kind of made when they brought in James Harden. And after those first 5 games, they've been clicking. They've been rolling. In your mind, do they have enough to win it all?
Yeah, Malika, look, I think their ceiling is win the whole thing. Now, a lot has to happen in order for that to take place, but the things I love about what they have in place right now, Kawhi Leonard represents a safety net, right, for Paul George. He's a safety net for James Harden. He's a security blanket for Russell Westbrook, and here's what I mean by that. One thing we know about Kawhi Leonard, if he's healthy and he's participating for potentially a 2-month postseason run, when you need him to be great, he will be great. When the situation requires it, Kawhi Leonard is going to be unflappable. He's going to be unfazed. He's not going to be affected by scheme or personnel that you throw at him. He's not going to be affected by pressure or the moment. The other guys that he's playing with in different situations they have been in, I think the pressure has affected them, knowing that if they didn't play well on a particular night, their team was not going to be able to win. They've got Kawhi Leonard now. That makes up for a lot of mistakes. And the way he has looked and his commitment to playing almost every night this year, I think that's sending a message not only to his teammates but to the rest of the league that the Clippers have enough. When you look at this talent, the role players around them, the 3 bigs that they rotate in the middle, they've got shooting, and they've got elite-level offensive players at the top of their roster headed by Kawhi Leonard. So I think that's the ceiling for this team. Win it all this year. Now it remains to be seen, can they stay healthy? And can they keep this thing together for a 2-month postseason run? But there's no doubt they've got enough pieces in place.
Right. They've only lost 6 games, right, over their last 32. If somehow they can put that healthy run together through the summer, through June, I have no reason to believe that this team isn't built to beat anyone. I still have a little bit of a question about the Denver Nuggets. I always tip my hat to the champ, but it does feel like the Clippers are posed to play the best basketball in the postseason that we have ever seen them play. Tim Legler, thank you so very much.
I'm on fire.